Amid rising uncertainties in Ukraine, we are being told that family members of Indian diplomats have been asked to return. Now, this comes after Indian embassy in Kiev has released an advisory for all nationals living in the country. Students and those working in non-essential sectors have been advised to leave Ukraine temporarily. For now, commercial and charter flights are available for departures. The advisory also said students should get in touch with their respective student contractors in case of any issues. A control room has also been set up in New Delhi to provide information and assistance. Due to the expected influx in departures, the Indian Foreign Ministry is closely working with the Civil Aviation Ministry. The government is expected to expand flights between India and Ukraine. This is a precautionary measure by the government of India. The embassy has urged citizens not to panic and also said that it will continue to function normally to provide all services to Indian nationals in Ukraine.
Yeah, go.
Now, this has expected influx in departures from Ukraine to India. The Indian Foreign Ministry, closely working with the Civil Aviation Ministry, the government expected to expand flights between India and Ukraine. This is a precautionary measure by the government of India, and the embassy has urged its citizens to not panic and has also said that it will continue to function normally to provide all services necessary to Indian nationals who are in Ukraine.
Yeah, go.
Now, joining us live for more on this is our diplomatic correspondent, Siddhant Sibal. Thank you for being with us, Siddhant. Now, the Indian government has recommended that all students and those who are working in non-essential sectors be advised to leave Ukraine temporarily. Take us through the latest.
Well, in an ominous development, I can tell you that India has asked the family members of its diplomats to leave the country and come back to India. Now, this is ominous because so far what the advisories were saying that the embassy is working normally, and of course the Indian nationals should slowly try to come back. But the latest advisory that has been released today does not mention those things. Also, it mentions that the latest advisory that the Indian students should come back to India, while it specifically says that Indian nationals who are engaged in a non-essential activity should also temporarily come back. But if we look at the situation right now, it is precarious. There are 20,000 Indian nationals in the country. The Air India is going to start a flight, 3 special flights to Ukraine to bring back more Indian nationals. And India has reiterated multiple times that the well-being of its nationals is the #1 priority for the country. In fact, just last week at the United Nations Security Council, the Indian envoy to UN said that when it comes to bringing back Indians, it is, of course, something that is on top of the mind. But of course, he talked about how the Minsk Pact should be implemented. The Normandy talks is something that New Delhi is backing on. But if you look at the ground situation, especially in eastern Ukraine, there are now more signs of increased violence in that part of the country, and that does not go well when it comes to the situation on the ground.
Absolutely, Siddhant. Now, the Indian government has said this is a precautionary measure and called citizens to not panic. And there is a control room that has been set up in New Delhi to provide information and assistance to those who need it.
Well, yes, in fact, the Ministry of External Affairs and the Civil Aviation Ministry are in touch with each other and are coordinating steps when it comes to reaching out to the Indian nationals. So what the Indian Civil Aviation Ministry has done is that it has removed the barriers when it comes to number of flights between the two countries, because as of now, we know that there is a travel bubble with the rest of the world, and a specific number of flights can only be allowed. So this barrier has been removed. When it comes to the Ministry of External Affairs, that you pointed out, a control room has been established. Now, this control room works 24/7, and this is for perhaps the third time a control room has been established in past few years when it comes to dealing with any kind of crisis. Last year, we saw the Indian side opening a control room to bring back Indian nationals from Afghanistan after the Taliban takeover. Then, of course, the Indian nationals who were stranded across the world during the COVID crisis. Then also there was a control room. So this is part of a normal protocol. But nonetheless, the developments, two important developments coming today. One, of course, India saying that it will bring back the family members of its diplomats. And secondly, when it comes to the advisory that has been issued, these are two important developments, and it shows that New Delhi is increasingly conscious that situation on the ground can deteriorate.
Absolutely, Siddhant. Thank you very much for bringing us all the latest details there.
WION, now available in your country. Download the app now. Get all the news on the move.